Does this Scorpion have a sting, or will the Wardens stomp it out? Find out coming up next.
Yeah, that's right. It's match number 2 of the SMITE Summer Solstice NASCC Gauntlet. We got the Wardens and the Aaru Scorpions coming up here in just a moment. J-Mac and Mifflin joining me here on the desk. Jumping into our second match of this gauntlet. We had a hell of a running last week, though, Mifflin. If you look back to the EUSCC, we had our 5th and 6th seed battle out. We had Yomi Tanuki make a gauntlet run. Now, Kaolin Wardens, their first set under their belts, able to move on and try and break themselves into the next round of play. But if they want to replicate what the Tanuki have got to do, they've at least got to start by going through the Aaru Scorpions, team that has had a little bit of change-ups since its time in their previous iterations and now until now. We can take a look at the bracket to see, or the bracket and the rosters for both of these to see the full run of show for some of these teams out there. Kaolin Wardens, you just got to watch them play. Tubahh, Hámmy, nnog, Picoways, and Brunorom finding their first win in a 3-game set up against the Chihuahua Storm. Now they face off against the Aaru Scorpions. GuyJ, NotGeno, Bayroneri, Migiiiiii, and RelentlessOne will now be their opposition on the opposite side of the playing field, representing the Aaru Scorpions in this gauntlet. And Mifflin, the gauntlet last week was very exciting. After our first set already going 3, I've got high hopes for these NA teams.
But if you want to draw direct parallels to last week and how the European SEC gauntlet went, sure, Yomi Tanuki go for a bit of a run. Takes them a little while, but the second set was a bit faster. Felt like they were starting to pick up a bit of momentum. And it's something I would be remiss not to bring up, is momentum in tournaments like this. The ability to have already played a match, you're feeling a little bit warm, going into a team that hasn't had that opportunity to play just yet is a pretty significant advantage, at least in my opinion. Discourse amongst current pros and previous pros, it's neither here or there. But as far as I'm concerned, and history is concerned, feels like having a little bit of a warm-up is just very valuable.
It's also just nice getting a little bit of extra competitive experience with your team. The more games that you can play before the full season kind of kicks off gives you maybe an idea of areas that you might struggle with and need to kind of work on as the season starts to approach these teams. But as you can see by the gauntlet bracket, Kaolin Wardens now face the Scorpions. Winner will face the Valhalla Valkyries and the Weavers and the Sages, all the way so on up until you get to the very top. Remember, that winning team not only gets a nice little prize cash money for themselves, but also gets to go to the Roll Stars Land, which will be happening just a few weeks to play, not just with their other SCC from the EU side, but also the SPL players to round out and make some of those teams out there. Before we get into the Roll Stars, though, and before we can even see who's going to make it through, we at least got to start getting through our second and third setup today. And then remember, 2 best-of-3s happening tomorrow to close out the remainder of the gauntlet. And talk about the Kaolin Wardens, we just got to watch these teams play out there, and already has kind of maybe put a little bit of target on their backs, Mifflin, as far as what some of the draft might be concerned. The Giannis, the Susano in that very last game looked really strong for Picoways and nnog, but also got to throw a shout again. We talked about it with the EU teams, and Thor being such a prominent pick might be something that needs to get drafted up pretty early by these 2 teams.
Yeah, Thor is just in a very good spot right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pass over him as a pick because he should either be banned or picked just about by everyone. I think you're absolutely correct to bring up that Giannis, though. Nnog has a phenomenal performance in the first set of the day. Giannis is a pick that gets a buff based on which level of play it's currently in. And the lower the level of play, the better Giannis is. So when you're in ranked or in casuals, you're going to dominate because he's hyper-mobile. In the SCC, it feels like a little bit more so than the SPL. It is about individual play. And in a lot of these clips when we follow Giannis, you see him just going uncontested in the back line, slipping in and out of the fight. So difficult to track him down unless you are completely on top of your communication. So I think unless you've got a strategy to deal with it, and generally that strategy in the past is either semi-global ultimates to chase him through walls or taking the Susano for yourself. If you haven't got a Susano in the back pocket and you're not used to playing against Giannis, I think you're right to say this is a pick you need to take away from nnog. And if it's not going to be in the picks, it needs to be in the bans. Otherwise, it's not just nnog that makes a powerful team here. Picoways has a phenomenal performance out of the jungle. Bruno, they wanted to make the joke, we don't talk about Bruno, but they had to talk about him the entirety of the first set because of the performances that he was able to put on. This is a team that you really need to keep your eyes on. Seems like they watched a whole lot of that EU SEC gauntlet and said, those picks are pretty good.
Yeah, and seems to have replicated a little bit of that. And that typically happens once we kind of stray away from SPL for a while, and it gets to kind of peek at what the EU's doing a little bit, say, okay, those picks are really nice over here. We're going to bring that into our own kind of play style. And something that works really well for some of those play styles is the plays and the players on the Aaru Scorpions. Again, going back to their roster, RelentlessOne, NotGeno, 2 guys who have stuck together for such a long time competitively. Bayroneri back into the mid lane as well, has always had a very diverse god pool. And then GuyJ is, at one point, was being talked about as one of the potential up-and-comers into the SPL.
Yeah, this is a really interesting team because individually, each player on this squad. It is just so talented. Guys that have been around the SEC level for a very long time. Aaru Scorpions again, GuyJ, GuyJ, Bayroneri, Migiiiiii, and RelentlessOne. You've got the twins, guys who have made it to just about every single SEC land that has ever existed. GuyJ, who had a brief stint in the SPL as well. Just a very talented roster. But it seems like, to me, they're very content with being in the SEC. It's almost as if they enjoy hanging out here. They've been playing here for so long. I would consider them almost to be like the SEC gatekeepers, and they've used that exact nomenclature to describe themselves in the past. They are the first step to making the next step, right? You got to get through them, and a lot of teams tend to fall prey to these fellas.
Yeah, it's been unfortunate for some teams that have had to try and qualify back into the SEC, or maybe for the first time in SEC, and have to go through some of these players out there. Not to even mention Migiiiiii, a player who was kind of sitting right at the SOC/cusp of SEC, didn't really have too many opportunities to jump himself up into this kind of mid-level of play. Now has finally found a pretty solid roster for himself too. So expectations for a lot of these players individually, but as a team, I think that's where maybe the ultimate question comes down. We know how well Relentless and Geno work together. Their brothers have been playing together for such a long time, whether on the same team or I think for a couple of brief splits, we've seen them on different teams just kind of competing against each other. But these guys, we know how well they work together. It's how well does the rest of the squad kind of mesh with them? And I think with players like GuyJ, who have also been around the scene for a long time with these guys, it seems to be a pretty solid squad for the Scorpions. But can they stop the momentum of the Kaolin Wardens? We'll jump into the picks and bans for game number 1 to see if that momentum can get stopped in its tracks with Aaru Scorpions taking that first pick selection. Wonder what picks do end up going through. We already mentioned things, at least if you're specifically banning the Wardens. The Giannis, which isn't something that every mid laner is playing, but one that Nog has already played at least 2 games in a row and has looked really good on. Might be something we might see a little bit earlier on in the ban column if it doesn't get picked in the top 3, maybe something a little bit later.
And Bayroneri is capable of playing the Giannis too. We've seen him pilot that pick a few times, so if he so chooses, could take it towards his own draft. I would still argue, even with the great performance from Giannis in the previous set, it's not a top pick. You don't want it first overall. It feels like there's a few picks right now that are a little bit higher on the priority list. I'm only going off the data we have from the EU SCC, but Olorun seems like he's in that conversation. Magical Hunters in general. Kali has got a very high win rate. Auto Attacker Assassin seems like they're in a pretty decent spot right now. So we'll see how picks start to roll out. Couldn't even finish my sentence before they'd already dealt with that Giannis, so good on them. The Aaru Scorpions doing a bit of their own homework. Where does that leave us in that first pick position? A pick that has been rising in value, but maybe not valued highly enough for my liking. Ganesh, the Aaru Scorpions, putting a whole lot of pressure on him. It's phenomenal team fight presence. It's great single target lockdown. It's great objective burn. Aurora said it, and I'm going to say it every time it gets locked in. Oh, yeah. It's the year of Ganesh. I tend to agree. Which
is so funny because that whole joke and phrase popped up whenever I came to him and said, hey, man, you're on my fantasy team. I need points. Ganesh doesn't get kills. You know, assists are really good, but kills are great. He's like, sorry, man, you're going to be seeing a lot of Ganesh this year. Who would have guessed that Ganesh is going to be rising to the top of priority, at least for some of the SPL teams, and now here for SCC. Ganesh and Hebo locked in for the Scorpions. Opposite side will be the Sun Wukong and the Hachiman for the Kaolin Wardens, to make sure at least to get a very strong hunter over in that role that's seen a little bit less priority, at least over the time. Some of the nerfs that have come his way have pulled him from being the top hunter to still being a top hunter, but maybe not the level of priority that we've had in weeks of past.
Yeah, it feels like, for the most part, Marty is just still that top pick, and I don't think any changes that have come to him recently are going to remove that from him. So banned out this time around, go to the Hachiman, pretty decent next up, one of the safer hunters in the league, or in the game rather, excuse me. CC immune in the ultimate, a pretty decent dash, and great boxing in lane. All those buffs towards the tail end of the SPL, still there. Hachiman's still in a very good spot. The only difference is that Spectral Armor now having that aura on it, you don't really want to go towards crit nearly as often. So yellow numbers build, does he have it? Can he do it? Absolutely, with the auto attack speed stem from Heavenly Banner. Very capable of going down that itemization tree. A pick and hunter that I have been seeing a whole lot recently that I would not have expected to have risen so highly in the priority list is Xbalanque. It's good boxing in lane. You've got a great dash. That ultimate, though, maybe not as strong as it used to be. For you OG viewers right now, you're thinking, oh, great, you know, global stun. Doesn't stun anymore. You're just turning off the lights and getting those enhanced auto attack distances, which is still valuable, but maybe a little bit less than it used to be.
I'm still working that out of my muscle memory, by the way. Anytime
I tap the back button.
I don't even do that. I just like stutter tap the W key at that point. I don't even tap back. That's just how ingrained that's been into my memory, even though it's been years since that's been removed at this point. Still sometimes for some of the long-term players, keeping that one there. Along with that Xbalanque, though, Set and Ratatoskr, so double assassin for the Scorpions. And the Wardens round out with a Terra, Agni, and Kaolin. We can jump into game number 1 between the Scorpions and the Wardens in our second set of the NASCC Gauntlet. See who's going to take the lead in this best-of-3 matchup. Again, still JMac and Mifflin here on the desk and in the cast, but Doug now joining us for spectating into this game. And Mifflin with the Hebo plus double assassin feels like we're almost kind of a triple assassin style of matchup. We saw something similar earlier. I think it was an Ao Kuang solo with double assassin being jungle and mid. Still kind of fits that same bill with what the Scorpions have drafted for themselves.
And it's hyper-aggressive dive for the Aaru Scorpions, and it always has been with this team. It is a very aggressive squad who are going to heat check you just about at every given opportunity. Keep your eyes on RelentlessOne. It's generally around level 7, 8, 9 that he decides to rotate out a lane. Until then, Ratatoskr at least a bit susceptible to falling down in lane, even in the 1v1 or a rotation from the jungler. Could make it a bit difficult there. So after level 5, you don't really have those opportunities anymore through the Cosmos. Just such a good escape tool. Migiiiiii as well just needs a little bit of time to scale up. Bayroneri, I mean, generally around level 4, Set can start getting hyper-aggressive in lane. So the Aaru Scorpions, compositionally, very aggressive, but need to wait a few minutes, a few more levels before they can start leveraging it.
Some levels, maybe an item or two, before we really see that aggression pay through. But Kaolin Wardens on the opposite side, pretty similar as far as their jungle is concerned. Kaolin, not really known as an early game god. This is one of those ones we always talk about. You want usually that 3, maybe even 4 items before she really starts to kind of rev up. The Agni, though, does seem to kind of maybe mitigate some of that strong early game damage for himself. Fair bit of safety as far as that dash is concerned. It's a very quick dash, gets some good distance. So you think that at least for the Kaolin Wardens, since they know that the Scorpions need to wait a little bit longer before they start getting online, would you rather see the Wardens play a little bit more aggressive to try and beat them to the punch more than anything?
I think the Wardens, if they were to play aggressive, it's in the side lanes. The Sun Wukong's got a decent enough matchup in a Rat that you can kind of throw your weight around there. Play a bit more haphazard with your HP bar. And in the duo lane, you're not really concerned about a Hebo gank just yet. So go ahead, get active, dash in, and apply as much damage as possible. Any bit of damage returned to the Wardens should be resustained pretty quickly, thanks to having a Terra in lane. So play there, but again, it's a narrow window. Level 5's fast approaching.
Blink stun, and then the Jingu Bang on top. Bruno for first blood of the Kaolin Wardens, but set up by Picoways on that blink stun immediately after. And the Kaolin Wardens strike early, not even 2.5 minutes of the game, grabbing their first blood.
That's the concern with Rat. Just takes a little bit before you've got that safety. Once he finishes up the shield, once he's got the ultimate, that opportunity is almost entirely lost. So good on the Kaolin Wardens to exploit him while he's still weak. Now RelentlessOne, just a bit off timer for his own buff. Doesn't seem like he's concerned with his own, though. Teleports back in the lane and immediately starts posturing towards an invade. Instead, thinks better of it and won't be committing himself there. So small win over the Kaolin Wardens. First blood going over to Sun Wukong. Maybe a little bit less valuable than it would have been on a Kaolin, but now you can completely trust that Bruno can be left alone on an island. You don't necessarily need to have Kaolin dedicate too much time to the right side of the map anymore.
Just leave him be on Solo Lane Island. RelentlessOne will have to try and fight his way back in. But we got a purple buff invade on the left-hand side. Dash by Geno doesn't find anybody, but trying to pull this buff away. Does get secured by the Aaru Scorpions. GuyJ going to be happy with being able to put that purple buff around his waist. And Geno just going to zone Hámmy and Tubahh just to make sure that the shield buff can get guaranteed. But at least for the time being, GuyJ's only going to grab the smalls, and instead, it's a return invade. Migiiiii's made his rotation over to the enemy blue buff, or enemy purple buff, to try and take this one away, and it's a successful invade for the Scorpions this time.
Yeah, that is a tough situation there. You spend so much time pressuring in, so much time fighting around the enemy purple buff that you don't take over to level 5. Tubahh then forced to play a little bit more safe there. Had he been level 5, perhaps even would have taken the engagement up against Migiiiiii, but because he spends all that time and is still stuck without his ultimate, just not allowed to move up aggressively. And so, the Aaru Scorpions, well played to find that opportunity themselves. Migiiiiii really playing well on map right now. I've been keeping my eyes on this Hebo's jungle rotations. He's been on top of his timers. He's been on top of getting active in these lanes. Picoways, of course, strikes first, but you'd expect that from a Kaolin. Both of these late-game scaling junglers, but Kali a little bit faster to get those items.
Yeah, especially with that Golden Blade online. I mean, it's pretty fast clear, at least for this Kali. Picoways able to steal away back Harvey camp and steal away one of the chests as well. Means that a little bit of that golden XP stripped away from the Aaru Scorpions jungler, Migiiiiii. We're starting to fall just a little bit behind that right side of the map. As well, RelentlessOne with that first death on his belt. Means that he's going to have to be playing from behind up against Bruno, who's already got that Gladiator shield online. So physical defense will be good at least against his direct lane opponent, but lacking a little bit of magical in case Migiiiiii makes a rotation over to that side.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, a rotation towards Sun Wukong, speaking from jungle experience, J-Mac.
It's not fun.
It's just so miserable. If you're able to deal with 72 transformations, and that's a big if, by the way, he still has the Somersault Cloud.
Bruno's going to use his 72 transformations just to get in. Bomb over the top. Migiiiiii is so low. Crushing wave. Take away from the damage of Bruno, but you got two Sun Wukongs chasing. A double dunk in by RelentlessOne will stop both the decoy and the OG clone, but now Nog's going to have to dash away as far as he can go. Dharmic Pillar by Geno to zone further, but Picoways has found Migiiiiii through all of it. Nog's still going to try and fight back with one final bomb on his dying breath. It's not enough. Bayroneri strikes for the Aaru Scorpions and makes it a 1-for-1.
Good play to Bayroneri, making sure something comes of it there. Gets aggressive, dives into that tower, realizing that there's not a whole lot of threat after you've dealt with Nog, and so able to survive as well. Picoways too. Good rotation by him. Chases out that kill onto Migiiiiii. Migiiiiii gets a little bit overzealous with his aggressive back, we'll say. Could have probably just walked himself all the way into that tier 2 tower, but who's expecting Kali to be so deep in the enemy jungle? Should have been, because it cost Migiiiiii his life. But we're not picking Hebo for the early game. You're not so concerned with an 0-1. 6 minutes in, he's about maybe a half level to a level down. There's going to come a point in this match where, although both scale incredibly well, it's going to be... How would you describe this interaction? Who sees who first? If Hebo sees Kali, GG, blink, knock up, crushing wave, you're dead before you touch the ground. If Kali sees Hebo first, blink, stun, destruction, you just can't deal with them fast enough. So no matter what, come late game, I think both these guys are going to be in a decent position.
So we'll be keeping our eyes on the jungle matchup as the game progresses, but at least for the time being, the Kaolin Wardens, about 800 gold or so up, most of that from that first blood bounty. Aaru Scorpions have been able to answer back with their first kill. And XP still sitting fairly close between the two of them. Shield buff does get secured by the Kaolin Wardens. And I think once we start seeing, I almost wanted to say to see the solo laners rotate over. We've already seen them, at least in a mid lane skirmish. I'm now wondering maybe when we see GuyJ and Tubahh get through. Typically, at least what we saw with the EU SCC last week, throughout the course of their Gauntlet, it was right around that first beacon spawns where we see the Hunters kind of make their first rotations, their first impacts through. I wonder if we'll see something similar from the NA teams.
I think so. It's just that first beacon is incredibly valuable. Just sets the pace for the next few minutes, gives you a massive advantage in towards structures. And early game is where you really do benefit from that additional structure damage. Come late game, when everybody's hitting Phoenixes or towers for 200-300 and auto, doesn't feel like it matters. But in the early game, that additional 5% really can help out knocking down those tier 1s, opening up the map a little bit, making it easier to move in towards the neutrals. Picoways perhaps in a bit of trouble here, but with no vision on Hámmy, won't be an initiation.
Whoa! Who sees who first? Well, Picoways and Nog at least see the Hebo before he even has a chance to react. Bead still down for Migiiiiii, and it's an easy blink stun by Picoways, followed up by a bomb stun for Nog, and then a couple more bombs to drop down. Well, that's an easy pick onto the jungler. Now, a potential 3v1 over here to RelentlessOne. Wall goes up by Hámmy. Doesn't find him, gets the root, and forces out the ultimate. But now it's a 3-man rotation for Aaru Scorpions to dive in, but he misses. Picoways Relentless just off the mark with the knockup, and that should spell the end of the fight between the two teams.
Genuinely surprised that Picoways isn't interested in just like up-downing there and continuing the battle, considering destruction was available. That's Rat's escape. You've got Bruno right there with you. Maybe could have been an opportunity to look for a bit more, but had already succeeded in what he had set out to do. Steals away that blue buff, will fall back and farm up his own, and maintaining a 2-level lead over your direct opponent, Migiiiiii. Just a really good start for the Kaolin Wardens jungler. And the Kaolin Wardens draft does scale well as a whole. I mean, come late game, I expect Nog to probably pick up Divine Ruin in this slot, so the anti-heal is going to be there to match some of the sustains that the Aaru Scorpions have got. Already with Chronos Pendant means that those bombs will be coming out pretty consistently too. A slight aberration from the standard build out of mid. Generally we'll see either percent pen or flat pen in that first slot. Instead, CDR on the mind for Nog, perhaps concerned with the 1v1 potential that Bayroneri brings once that dash available. Or maybe not concerned at all, as he's starting to step himself forward. The Wardens are completely in the driver's seat now. The Aaru Scorpions just scrounging around the map, seeing whatever farm they can pick up.
Yeah, at this point, even mid-camps are a hard place to contest. Up against the Kaolin Wardens, the Scorpions can at least grab the left side mids, with 3 people rotated to that side of the map. Nog, the only one who's gone down on the Wardens so far here, 10 minutes in. A couple minutes out for that first beacon spawn. The Aaru Scorpions already trying to establish a little bit of pressure here in mid. But not going back to base. Typically we see a lot of things like Spear of Desolation as kind of that first go-to item for some of those mages for their flat pen. Instead, Divine Ruin for the Agni. At least from what I can tell, not a whole lot of sustain on the Scorpions kit for their gods in general to really maybe need that item, but maybe just likes the passive from it. As Picoways jumps away and a Dark Knight's used by GuyJ. The Kaolin Wardens will be able to walk away happily, except for Nog. A dive under the tower, 2 assassins. RelentlessOne keeps going, and maybe questionable for him to keep fighting in. Nog able to pick up the kill for himself.
Look, RelentlessOne sees Nog miss the stun, says, all right, kid, I'm going to have to be punishing you for that. Unfortunately for him, was still in a tier 1 tower. It was still tanking up all those fire bullets. So, you know, we're one more item into the build. That play works every time. Unfortunately, we're a Glad Shield Bluestone Acorn. That's not exactly enough defense to hang out in a tower for that long. RelentlessOne, though, loves to get aggressive. We talked about it earlier. It's what he does. He's going to rotate towards mid. He's going to try and do whatever he can. If we were to ask him, if we were listening into comms, he's probably laughing, saying, hey, limit testing. Limits are being tested, though, because the Kaolin Wardens are significantly ahead now. Nearly 3,000 gold experience, upwards of 4,000. That is around the point, this early in the game especially, where you can now do just about whatever you want on map. Fight over the beacon, fight over a Gold Fury, and start grouping up as 5.
Yeah, especially considering that even though Nog did die to Bayroneri earlier, he's got 2 levels up on him. RelentlessOne, he can't catch a break. It's a dive under his own tower, but Dash comes back up just in time. He's able to get away from the stun from Bruno. So will live, at least under his own tier 1 tower, recognizes, hey, tier 1s are pretty strong. Maybe I use mine defensively this time through. The Scorpions are the first ones now in the Stygian Beacon. Nog's going to try and get some decent damage up there. CC between he and Hámmy is good, but not quite enough to threaten the Beacon. Aaru Scorpions going to get this one with not much contest back from the Kaolin Wardens. So Beacon number 1 of the game to the Scorpions.
Man, that's really surprising. The Wardens just not on top of their timers there. Picoways spent so much time in right, had to go back to base. Tubahh dash forward, gets the beads, and it's Bruno on rotation.
Bruno teleports over just to bail out his Hunter. And now the support Hámmy rotating in as well, just to make sure that nothing further goes down between the 2 teams. But crazy that the Sun Wukong is the first one on the scene to the left side. Able to bail out Tubahh. Tubahh only losing out on the ultimate for that attempt, at least at aggression.
And now GuyJ without beads. I mean, it is a lack of CC immunity, but it's also a Hebo, so Water Spout probably was going to connect either way. Really, that only changes the 1v1, I think, in lane. Oh, excuse me, I got that completely mixed around. It's Picoways looking for the gank on the GuyJ. That's good. Get that Kali stun on him. That's going to work out every single time. Excuse me. Even helps out in the 1v1. EI Jutsu, of course, going to be a really good poke tool. Stick to him close. The only issue I could see arising in the 1v1 is GuyJ's got Aussie, which is slightly different. Drop him low, and with the stem on his first ability, he might still be able to win out in that 1v1, even post-stun.
You may have just spoken it ganked into existence, Myth, because GuyJ under tier 1 tower. Stun, 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 and that is death for the Hunter. Just too much CC, and without beats for still another 90 seconds. The Kaolin Wardens can do just that one more time. Tier 1 tower plus a kill for the Wardens.
Maybe a Gold Fury to boot. Seems like the trade for the Scorpions will be Pyromancer on the other side. I wonder, though. Nog's hovering. He can make this interesting.
Nog does have a lot of damage. Level 16 on the Agni. And with Bruno rotating over, this is not a free Pyromancer. It's a Gold Fury, no problem for the Kaolin Wardens. Silence has to get beats out, but unfortunately for Nog, it's either die to Bayroneri's damage or die to the Dharmic Pillar. Either way, kill goes over to the set. Bruno still over here trying to keep things interesting, trying to disrupt, but the Scorpions, they use Migiiiii's ultimate just to secure a Pyromancer. So it's objective for objective, but the Scorpions do get one extra pick.
Yeah, put Nog on the list. I think that's an avoidable death for Nog. Holds onto his beads for a real long time there. I mean, maybe immune's the last 0.5 seconds of Ganesh silence, but had to use it just a little bit sooner. Would have been able to get into that tower. Still had the Aegis too. So even with Dharmic Pillars there, might have been able to make his himself scarce in a situation like that. Regardless, still is nursing a pretty massive lead. It's not going to be the biggest of deals. RelentlessOne also trying his best to find some farm on map, forced to use that ultimate defensively. But doing a good job keeping parity with his direct lane opponent at 0-2 as opposed to the 1-0 of Bruno. I don't think they should be the same level. So good stuff to RelentlessOne, just utilizing that high mobility of Ratatoskr to farm up on map.
In fact, the brunt of the lead that the Kaolin Wardens do have is in all three of their more carry-style roles. Picoways, Nnog, and Tubahh, all with at least a 2-level lead up against their opposition. Nnog, even despite going down twice and both of the kills going over to Bayroneri, it's still a lead. A hefty one at that for the mid laner, the Kaolin Wardens. 2 levels up for Picoways in the jungle too, having been 3-0-1 on the Kali. You always talk about it takes a while for the Kali to ramp up, but when you have a lead like this, I mean, only 15 minutes in the game, being 3-0 and having 3 full items, feels that Picoways is just a moment away from being fully online.
Yeah, nobody is safe if Picoways makes contact. The only issue he'll run into as of now is the ability to stick to those targets, and I'm sure we'll see some items picked up shortly. That'll be able to alleviate some of those issues. Tier 1 tower, the target of aggression as the Kaolin Wardens. 3 stacked here. Might consider going for the dive, but you have to keep your eyes on that Ratatoskr in the backline as well. RelentlessOne doesn't have the global, not for a few more seconds, but does have the flank.
Quick dash by Geno, but a dive in by Picoways gets the Dharmic Pillars away from the Ganesh. That'll be 2 ultimates, both from the dual lane of the Scorpions, just to bail out Geno. And now Nnog versus RelentlessOne. We had this battle into the Tier 1 tower. This time, Nnog doesn't even need it. 3/4 of RelentlessOne's HP taken away by the Agni. And now level 18 for the mid laner. This is an explosive lead that the Kaolin Wardens mid has been able to bail for himself. Bruno tries to go in, but gets silenced out by Geno once more. And it will cost the Aaru Scorpions a Tier 1 tower.
Now, where do the Wardens go? There's still 5 stacked in mid. There's no real jungle buffs to invade either. Sure, grab a green. Not exactly the highest value. Back camps 2. Tubahh lucky on that spawn. Spots him out. But it won't be a push in towards the Tier 2 tower. Aaru Scorpions being led around the map by the nose. Geno falls down.
RelentlessOne stunned out. Can he even make it up into the sky in time? He does have his ultimate. Able to get the dash to just break away. Goes up top. He's got GuyJ and Bayroneri to break him out, but Picoways is going to go into destruction early to make sure he doesn't fall down. That's a kill for the Kali, and Bayroneri now the one on the run with GuyJ. Migiiiiii is here to try and stop things. He's got ultimate, but does he have the damage confirmation? Stunned out by Nnog. Use the ultimate defensively to bail out, because Nnog is still full HP. Bayroneri tries to dive in, but he doesn't have the chase that he thinks he does. Tubahh walks back into him. It's a beads and Aegis off of Bayroneri, but it's too little and too late. Nnog picks up another kill in this fight, and now 3-2 on the Agni.
Man, Migiiiiii was getting so choosy with his target selection there. Wanted to hold on to Crushing Wave until after one more water cannon would have secured the kill for himself, but takes too much damage. Forced to use it defensively, but at least drops 1 target low. Tubahh, though, I think, makes the most impressive play in that sequence. Besides, I can't outrun him. Set's already leapt in. He knows he's going to die. I'm going to die with him if Skewer connects. So instead, turns around and says, let's just guarantee the turnaround kill. Let's make sure Bayroneri pays for this. Lands, I believe, about 4 auto attacks there. Very nearly had enough lifesteal to survive the entire engagement, too. But at the end of the day, does cost him his life. So 0-1-4 now for Tubahh. But slash lines don't always indicate your full presence in match or impact on game. And I think 0-1-4, not doing him justice.
This time, the Kaolin Wardens are prepared for their Stygian Beacon. They rotate 3 players immediately onto the Beacon and a couple to start up the Fury. Primal already at half HP, just from Tubahh and Pico. Now dash in by RelentlessOne, stun onto Bruno, but he's got ultimate to go right up and heal himself back to, not quite full, but will get himself pretty darn near close. His decoy dealing with the other 3 players on the Aaru Scorpions. Not able to move themselves in. Now over towards Pyromancer that's respawned back in. Hámmy's going to find a stun onto 1. Pyromancer's still under threat, but it's now level 20 Agni on the scene. Scorpions get the Pyromancer. Quick silence in. And Bruno this time doesn't have ult. Doesn't really take that much damage from Migiiiiii either. Needs the rest of the team as GuyJ drops him down. RelentlessOne on the tree. will use it defensively to get out 1 pick plus Pyro for the Wardens, but the Scorpions did the Wardens did at least manage to get Gold Fury.
Man, the Scorpions have been very aggressive in situations where I'm genuinely surprised that they're willing to do it. Pulling the Pyromancer there, I suppose a calculated risk, and realizing that the Kaolin Wardens aren't fully grouped up, a risk they need to take to stem the bleeding of this game. Had they reset the Aaru Scorpions, that is, the Kaolin Wardens likely would have just taken the Pyromancer for themselves. But by that same note, Picoways has not shown up to contest a neutral objective. We saw it around the Stygian Beacon earlier, Pyromancer as well. He's just always very close to the fight, but never quite in it. Even there, it's a team fight that goes on for maybe 15 seconds around the Pyro. Picoways clears out speed, back camps, and hovers the jungle, as opposed to getting involved. You know, maybe it's a situation where it doesn't seem like you really are in any risk of losing the game if you lose the Pyro. You don't have to necessarily move in towards the objective, but if your team's fighting, I would have liked to have seen him there. Because that's what he's capable of doing, J-Mac. Just walk up and eviscerate Geno.
Get some help from Nnog, and now Fire Giant half health for the objective. The Kaolin Wardens, they decide that they're just going to play 4 objectives this game. 9 kills to themselves and a Fire Giant around all 5 of the Wardens. Nnog moves in, doesn't find the stun on Geno this time. The Kaolin Wardens, and specifically Pico, decides, you know, maybe the Pyromancer fight's not even worth it, because if we can just find the 1 pick and set up for Fire Giant, that might just be more than enough, because now it's fire for everybody on the Wardens.
And the siege from the Wardens is pretty decent. You've got great AoE damage. Bruno has proven himself to be nigh unkillable, so tanking up those Phoenixes, I think, going to be pretty easy here. And even just looking at the Aaru Scorpions draft, it is not a great defense composition. Once Dharmic Pillars are down, that's the majority of your team fight. Crushing Wave doesn't have enough damage behind it with only 3 items. The Kaolin Wardens, all they need to do, play it a little bit slow, burn through Geno's ultimate, and then it's all in.
Nnog does get hit by some damage from Migiiiiii. The Kaolin Wardens are just slowly chipping away at this tier 2 tower on right. Strip it out. RelentlessOne well behind enemy lines. Gets spotted out by Nnog, who's got more than enough damage to deal with this Ratatoskr. Probably just on his own. Bayroneri's going to try and chase out the jungler. RelentlessOne gets up to the sky just in time. Has to use the ultimate defensively. And maybe fortunate for him, Tubahh wasn't nearby, but unfortunate for Tubahh. He's found a Ganesha and a Hebo, not ideal targets for a Hachi to try and fight 1v2.
And let that be an example of how far behind the Scorpions really are. Tubahh should not survive in an engagement like that.
Picoways stun onto Geno, but Geno's dash connects to the target. Probably not ideal for him. Geno, though, under the tower lives. But Bruno missed out on the ultimate. That might be his saving grace. Ult from Tubahh's not enough, but Jingu Bang from Bruno will take him down.
Good Aegis.
And Picoways with the wraparound. Wants to try and find a stun. Some damage onto anybody. Does find RelentlessOne, but immediately out. It's 2 tier 2 towers for the Wardens. 1 kill. And almost the second one hand-delivered to them. The Kaolin Wardens are just mowing through this map.
I can't believe the Wardens are backing up here. I mean, did they even really take any damage on the way in towards that Phoenix? Remove Geno from the map, take both relics away from Migiiiiii. RelentlessOne, no ultimate. You know GuyJ hasn't got his either. But it'll be a reset nonetheless. Wait for that Oni Fury. Take the guaranteed wins. The Kaolin Wardens completely in the driver's seat now. I mean, these are 99% odds. This lead had just been accumulated much too quickly, J-Mac. The Aaru Scorpions, the only way to win now is to elongate this match. If the game ends in the next 10 minutes, I'd be willing to bet 9 out of 10 times they were the Kaolin Wardens. As we start to approach that 35-40, somewhere in there, the game will even out a little bit. You only hit level 20 once. You only get 6 slotted once. You're starting to approach it. Some key power spikes on the way for the Scorpions, but the damage output from Migiiiiii in particular is just leaving a bit to be desired, and you need this Hebo to be a threat.
And right now, the biggest threat on map is Picoways and Nnog as a combo of those two. If you have those two surrounding any member of the Aaru Scorpions, feels like that is certain death for them at this point. Kaolin Wardens with 10 kills and an 8,000 climbing gold lead, but still 1 more tier 2 tower to knock down. Aaru Scorpions got to find some way to fight back in. Whether it's maybe wait out to level 20, start getting some of those power spikes online. Maybe slowly chip away at these objectives like Pyromancer. 1 more time for the Aaru Scorpions. Migiiiiii, though, caught backing. And Picoways will just start chainsawing through the entire enemy line if given the opportunity. 1 pick already for the Kaolin Wardens. About to be 2. GuyJ dashes the wrong way, and it's only a moment of time before he goes out, and it's Nnog with 1 more bomb to secure that kill. Picoways, he's not giving up yet, though. Stun off the mark, but a dash in and still slamming through with those basic attacks. It's hard to stop this Kali.
Yeah, that stun on a Migiiiiii as well as Geno to start off that fight was so disruptive. Migiiiiii, I think, may have been in the shop there. Does use the beads eventually, but dies in about the same breath. And now it's the Kaolin Wardens right back on the Phoenix.
Phoenix there, RelentlessOne to the back line of 5, but you can't fight 5v1 against a team this far ahead. Now 3 off the board for the Scorpions, about to be 4. Bayroneri is able to get out of here. Just stunned out by Picoways destruction pop, and nnog from the mid laner gets himself out. Picoways goes down to the Dharmic Pillars by Geno. A good turnaround for them, but they've already lost out on 2 Phoenixes. The Kaolin Wardens can now go on defense, try and back themselves away and retreat back to safety.
Yeah, this chase is not guaranteed. Bruno may be in a bit of trouble, though. Still has the Somersault Cloud. Need to get up to it soon. Bayroneri doing a whole lot of damage, and Geno, good positioning, may have bought themselves a target.
Oh no, Nog still stands his ground and fights. A good stun, connects, but now Geno's got to run out because he's nearly out of both health and mana. Migiiiiii goes in, Aegis though by Nog, secures his life bomb. You're going to be Aegis by Migiiiiii and a beads after. Migiiiiii doesn't stand a chance when the Wardens turn tail right back at him. And another pick for the Kaolin Wardens. The Aaru Scorpions, it's like a conveyor belt system. We're going to just keep going in.
Next?
One after another. It's Bayroneri to try and fight Hámmy, but he gets rooted out into the skies. RelentlessOne down through and a stun on a Hámmy. Dharmic Pillar slows things down. The Kaolin Wardens, they lose out on 1, but Bruno never went back to base throughout all of this, and he takes out GuyJ. Geno can't stop him. RelentlessOne gets one of his own, but Nog is back at full health, full mana. It'll be an easy chase down for Bruno. The 1 pick is great, but unfortunate for you, you lose 4 on the Scorpions.
RelentlessOne, the only one still alive, has teleport. Could maybe get back to his Phoenix, but he has to wait out the stun from Agni first. Nog loses track of his target. It's only 2 in the center of the map, and Titan's starting to move down the right-hand side. What maybe could have been an opportunity to look for the end, especially considering Migiiiiii no beads again. Loses out because the Titan needs to be dealt with before the Titan can be dealt with. You like that?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm going to be honest, I kind of forgot about the 3rd beacon for a moment for how high octane this game has been the last 5 or so minutes of the game. 3rd beacon wasn't even on my mind at the time being. And this Titan won't be long, at least on his track, out of the base. Will be sent back quickly by the Kaolin Wardens. And now Aaru Scorpions with 2 Phoenixes down. Will have to defend against not just a full health Titan of the Kaolin Wardens marching down right, but the full brunt of the Wardens, because it looks like Fire Giant is the call for this Wardens team. Picoways now full build for himself, has revved through just about every single person that has stepped up to him.
Yeah, there is no great answer to Picoways. What was it that I said just about 25 minutes ago? Both these junglers are going to be in a position where it's who sees who first. Yeah, Migiiiiii doesn't want to see Picoways.
He's got global sights at this point.
Yeah, I mean, just don't look at him. That guy's going to win the fight every single time. Now with Soul Reaver, I mean, there's a little bit more nuance to the conversation, but you need that 6-slotted item. You need a little bit more burst, because if Picoways is allowed to touch the ground, if he is allowed to channel destruction, I mean, it is true to its name. He is going to raise the ground.
Titan versus Phoenix goes in favor of the Wardens. A dunk down by RelentlessOne, but what damage can he get back off? Nog is the one you got to take out in this fight, but he doesn't have his relics, and he doesn't have a health bar. Bayroneri chips him away, but now Picoways has joined the fight. First pick for him onto Bayroneri, but he's just waiting for his opportunity to snake back in as Tubahh takes down GuyJ, and Bruno is dealing with everybody else. Migiiiiii falls down, and Bruno has not stopped the backliners. The front line is not even safe for the Scorpions, as it's only Geno and Relentless. The twins have got to put on a hell of a defense because the Titans are clashing. Bruno takes down 1, and RelentlessOne falls to the damage of Pico. And it's game number 1 going to the Wardens.
Look, the Aaru Scorpions show fight back. They show it constantly throughout this game. 5,000 gold down, we're fighting back. 10,000 gold down, we're fighting back. You know, we're at a numbers disadvantage, we're fighting back. Maybe fight back a little bit less, spend a little bit more time farming up some of these waves. You don't necessarily need to run down every single fight. I mean, no better example of their state of mind than that second to last team fight where they're one by one conveyor belting down the center of the map. There are times to hold them and times to fold them, and that late in the game, that far behind into a Kali, that's a fold them. Let's look somewhere else, find a little bit of PvE to do.
I mean, the good thing for them is that they got the 1 pick they were looking for. So, all right, cool, we got 1. The problem then for the Scorpions lied is Well, they said, okay, well, we got our one. Maybe we can get another one. Maybe we can get another one beyond there. But those ones never came, and unfortunately they lose 4 players, nearly a full wipe after that. The Kaolin Wardens, their momentum started in set 1, and here in game number 1, they keep it up. Can they push on to a 2-0? We'll find out in game 2 right after this break.
Time is on our side.
Yeah, that's right. It's no lie in that banner. It's a 10 million gem giveaway over the course of the next 3 weeks of SMITE. And all you've got to do if you want a chance to win a portion of those 10 million gems, it's 10,000 unique or 10,000 gems for a 1,008 unique players over the course of it. Make sure that you log into SMITE and play a game, and you'll be eligible for up to 1 hour at a time for each of those game wins that you go through, or those game plays, I should say. You don't even necessarily have to win out there. The full details of it's 10 million gems every half hour for 21 days straight. We give 10,000 gems over to those unique players, so you can't win twice. You can only win once per account on there, so make sure you are going through, playing your games of Smite, and getting your opportunity to win, as I said, over the course of the next 3 weeks of play. For full details and information, you can use !celebration in the chat to see how everything goes through, so make sure you're jumping on and playing some Smite for an opportunity to win those gems. And speaking of winning, Mifflin, the Kaolin Wardens did a whole lot of it here in game number 1 against the Aaru Scorpions. It seemed like it was going to maybe be a bit of a slower paced game, but once we hit about that 15-minute point of the game, Picoways is up 3-0 on the Kali at that point. That felt like the beginning of the end for the Aaru Scorpions.
Yeah, at one point I look over and I see Picoways 3, maybe 4 levels up. They're both playing late game scaling junglers. Picoways is on Kali, and I'm thinking to myself, that's probably just it. I don't see a whole lot of climb back potential for this Hebo. And that seemed to have been the case the entire time. How poetic that the first clip is Picoways simply walking down the Hebo, because that tend to happen a fair deal throughout this game. So instead of focusing on the junglers, let's look at some of the other issues that tended to arise on the map. And I think Nog is a great one to highlight. Just allowed to free farm for so much. By the time anyone had decided to address him as a problem, it was that rotation from RelentlessOne, who dove into the tower and simply added fuel to the flame by feeding over a free kill to Nog. This Agni pick has been suiting the entirety of the SEC so well throughout the last 2 weeks, and Nog certainly pilots it well himself. Now counted amongst those that have been absolutely dominant on this pick. Bruno, great game on the Sun Wukong, was so disruptive in that back line, so often just allowed to stay there indefinitely, and by the time anyone had decided to deal with him, he always had the Somersault Cloud as a get-out-of-jail-free card. The Kaolin Wardens set a ridiculous pace here in game number 1. It's the Aaru Scorpions now who have to go back to the drawing board.
The Aaru Scorpions have got to figure out what they want to do to slow down the Kaolin Wardens, because even with some of the bans that were thrown that way, we saw the Thor was taken as a first ban, Giannis was removed from Nog as well, but just didn't seem to be enough to slow down the pacing of the Kaolin Wardens through game number 1. So as we move into game 2, adjustments to be made, maybe in drafts and on field for the Aaru Scorpions. I mean, you have decent late game scaling for this team. I mean, I look at a set trying to run you down late game. That's a whole lot of burst damage coming from that assassin. You have essentially a 2-tap god in the Hebo. You hit water spout, pretty much anything that follows up after should be an instant kill, and you have quite a bit of safety that could come from that Ganesha, from that Xbalanque that's been rising so heavily, at least amongst the NASCC hunters, I should say. We haven't really seen so much Xbalanque over on the European side, so maybe a bit of a switch up for the Scorpions, potentially across the board for themselves out there, especially if you're going in first pick. Feels like if you're first banning the Thor, kind of almost, to me, tells that none of your players really want to go with a pick like that, or maybe it's just not a top pick priority for them.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get a better idea of that as we go into P's and P's for game number 2. But I think you're right that adaptations need to happen. I think getting just a faster jungle pick would help out a whole lot, especially considering the pace of game that they try to set for themselves. It is constant aggression across the board. Every POI that spawns up, the Aaru Scorpions say, bet I'll be there. They were first to Stygian Beacon. They were first to Gold Fury. They were first to Pyromancer. They were behind every single time. Pick something that can fight in the early game, and maybe your early game strategy will work a little bit better.
Essentially so. We'll see what adjustments the Scorpions make here in game number 2 up against the Kaolin Wardens. Remember, Wardens now up 1-0 in this best of 3 against the Scorpions in the Gauntlet. One more win for the Wardens means they move on to set number 3, and then if they can find a win there, remember they keep climbing up the Gauntlet as the winners go through, all for that prize, for a little bit of money at the very end of it, but also getting to come out here to studio to play in the Roll Stars event with some of our SPL talent. As immediately as we start jumping into the bans, once again, it's Thor and Giannis banned away by the Aaru Scorpions, opposite in Baba Yaga, Bakasura. The one adjustment that is getting made this time is that Bruno is not allowed back on that Sun Wukong. Scorpions take that one away.
So now Bruno won't have that just free pick unless he goes to Jormungandr, in which case, yeah, jungler's probably not going to show up there, but I think that was probably an issue that they had run into, which is one solo laner is very gankable, playing the Ratatoskr. I mean, you've got through the Cosmos, but once that's dealt with, you don't exactly have the best get-out-of-jail free cards, whereas Sun Wukong, 72 transformations, and Somersault Cloud, and just being incredibly tanky and ahead probably helped out a good deal. So getting him off one of his flavor picks, very smart. And a pick that has had a whole lot of discourse around it recently, be it here on Smite Game or amongst us as casters or even on all other social medias, is this Ravana. just an incredibly strong pick. Very good at sticking in that back line. The primary strength of Ravana is his ability to remain in the fight. He is going to be in the fight longer than just about everybody else and has just enough damage that you can't ignore him. So often these backline dive warriors is, okay, well, at least he's hitting me for 25. I don't need to be worried about it. He's hitting you for 250, and he's doing it frequently, and he's getting HP shields every time he's doing it. And if he hits you with the dunk, he's also even tankier now. Don't let this Ravana get out of control. I think that needs to be priority #1 for the Wardens.
Yeah, really, no matter which role the Ravana goes into. We've been seeing a lot more of the solo as of recent for the Ravana. We have still seen at least some light to the jungle. To go with that Ravana, though, Ganesha and Ram this time for the Scorpions. The Kaolin Wardens, though, will stick with what worked in the duo lane for themselves, Terra and Hachiman. But, as you called earlier, Jormungandr now to the solo lane. It was hard to gank a Sun Wukong. Feels like it's just as difficult to try and gank a Jormungandr.
Yeah, now he might not have 2 mobility abilities. He's got just the 1 in the World Serpent. He's also like immune to certain forms of CC. So you got some knockups headed his way. You haven't just yet, Ganesha, I suppose, but still has that stun on the first part of remove obstacles. It'll be difficult to lock down this Jorm. He's going to be very tanky. He's got great pressure in lane. Actually has a little bit better pressure in lane than what we had seen previously from Sun Wukong. And it does diversify your damage output a little bit. Now you need to look a little bit more so towards magical defense, which should facilitate the Hunter on the Wardens and likely an Assassin pickup too.
Tiamat for the Wardens. Maybe surprising given how great a performance Nog did have on the Agni. And with it not being banned away, I thought maybe he would have gone that direction. But no, we'll be Tiamat mid. But on the opposite end, nnog, guy that we don't see very often, but one that Bayroneri over his career has played quite a deal of. And then a Surtr, which, in almost any other situation with almost any other time of frame, I'd say, okay, cool, Surtr's going over to solo. But we have seen Surtr jungle in the SPL. Sino notably the one playing that one. Though it is Sino, he's a little stranger with this pick
sometimes.
What's
that win rate on Surtr jungle?
I don't think it
like
was very
20%,
strong. I think he's gotten a single win. Yeah. But maybe see if the Surtr jungle or solo. We'll have to see where the Scorpions end up drafting that one along with that Ravana. And the one that kind of caught your interest there, we're going to talk about it kind of as we get ready to go into the game here. This Mercury as a final pick for the Kaolin Wardens might be maybe the most interesting of all the picks out there. Let's jump in to game #2 between the Scorpions and the Wardens to see if the Wardens can go unscathed in their set, or can the Scorpions bounce back and force us into a game 3 scenario. Let's jump ourselves right into game #2. But what about the Mercury? You know, the pickup here by the Wardens really kind of stuck out to you and maybe surprised you, Mifflin.
I think that auto attack junglers are explicitly and objectively miserable to play into nnog. It just feels like nnog every single time. If you want to fight her, she's going to have that massive explosion. You're going to walk into the soldiers, you're going to walk into the crystal shard, you're going to get hit by the stun, and you're probably going to lose out on 50, maybe 60% of your HP. There is an interesting interaction with Mercury in that he is the most likely of auto attack junglers to build crit, and alongside Golden Blade, there is potential to just one-shot those soldiers, and it's not an issue. But it is very difficult still, especially in the early game, to deal with this nnog. So similar to last game, where a jungler is going to get active, I think Picoways probably does look towards the side lanes. RelentlessOne's in a very similar position as he was in game 1, in that pre-5 doesn't really have great ways to deal with these ganks. Could very well just have Picoways show up over in the solo lane once more. Otherwise, though, interesting composition top to bottom from the Aaru Scorpions as Geno limps himself back into that tier 1 tower. nnog, of course, is a pick we don't see too often. Surtr, a pick that we've seen from one guy and just hasn't had a whole lot of success. This is an AoE CC light composition. They've got a good deal of single target CC on the Aaru Scorpions, but as far as actually initiating a fight, starting up a true 5-on-5 in a presumed Gold Fury dance or Fire Giant dance, I could see the Scorpions struggling.
Migiiiiii wants to try and make his presence on the right side, but Bruno able to spot that one out. So not much besides a cooldown buff that at least goes for the Aaru Scorpions, but better something than nothing for Picoways. Able to at least grab a little bit of farm over there. I think for me, maybe the most kind of wild startup out of all of them is for RelentlessOne. The Bluestone, maybe not entirely out of the question, but going so early into this Druid Stone seems a little strange. Typically we see more of the dedicated defense than we do more of this hybrid defense style early.
Yeah, I mean, generally it's like shield in first slot, right? But you don't necessarily want to pick that up into a Jormungandr, so Get yourself some items that you'll find value from. I'm sure the build will start to, as we develop it further, look a lot more in line with what we've become used to seeing. It's just first slot woes up against a Guardian.
GuyJ misses a few autos. Tubahh's trying to fight back, pops his beads early, and ends up turning the fight for himself. GuyJ steps too far forward and ends up paying with his life, but not just that. Picoways in mid, teamed up with nnog, able to take down Bayroneri even through the purification beads. First blood and second blood, both to the Kaolin Wardens.
Yeah, I'm looking at the relic graveyard that is currently residing with the Kaolin Wardens. Only one relic still available, and it's those beads for nnog. I think that tells the story in of itself. Likely a dash forward from Picoways. Immediate beads from Bayroneri. Drops the stun. Picoways beads is that. Says, all right, you're out. You're done. Oh, excuse me, is that a blink in first slot for Mercury? Picoways is a psycho, dude. That is... Blink Mercury first slot into this composition? Hyper aggressive. It worked for him. 2-0 start. Excuse me. I was shadow boxing monsters that don't exist. He just blinked on him and it worked. That's not how it's supposed to go. That's not how it's supposed to go at all. Bayroneri just caught out. That's all it could have been.
Now maybe a pick onto Hámmy. As long as that silence wasn't there by Geno, should be at least a guaranteed dash through, and it is. So Hámmy able to escape. But the purple buff did get stolen away. Migiiiii's rotation maybe late for a help on a kill, but just in time for a steal on a buff. Able to keep himself relevant in the game. Because now, Picoways getting that first blood kill for himself, that extra bounty, and then immediately following after that second blood by Tubahh. And the good thing is while we may have missed out on the kill over in mid, we can see exactly how things went down. RelentlessOne should go down to himself, at least over on the right-hand side during the original one, but Bayroneri just dive on the tower. Picoways just makes it easy.
It just didn't even connect with the dash there. It doesn't seem to matter. Look, if you haven't got the stun combo up, you can't stop the assassin. So Picoways picks his spot very well. GuyJ, 2v1. Wouldn't believe it looking at the HP bars. Make that a 2v2 with Geno here. But I don't think there's a whole lot of kill pressure. Drop Hámmy into Threshold. Maybe you can get a triple snipe, but heals. And he's already outside. GuyJ could land all 3 shots. It wouldn't be enough.
And what we just missed out on was rotation to the right side. A sonic boom by Picoways right on top of RelentlessOne. And Picoways and Bruno able to team up and grab themselves a kill over on the right side of the map. Pressure towards GuyJ. And I imagine if Geno had that ultimate before his rotation, probably could have been a pick on a Hámmy. Now might just be one on a Tubahh. Migiiiiii is here as well. The 3v1. Tubahh's saying
that's easy.
Much time as he can. He goes right back to the ult. Able to trade out 1 for 1. Migiiiiii just standing by, wondering what's going on. As it's the Hunter Tubahh down for Geno.
Yeah, Geno gets a little bit overactive there. Didn't really need to play as active a role in that tower dive than he did. Takes that shot. Makes it easy for Tubahh to turn around the kill. Tubahh had the opportunity much earlier on to just go into the ultimate and try and outrun the snipes from Rom there. Maybe get out of range, but perhaps even spotted out that rotation from Migiiiiii and says, look, best case scenario, I get a return kill. And he finds the best case scenario. Geno falling down, keeping that a 1-for-1 trade, and keeping parity between the hunters. Had Tubahh just gone down for free, GuyJ would have probably got the better end of that lane pretty easily from this position. Already finished up the Aussie, has a little bit more 1v1 potential thanks to that global presence. But instead, just right back to neutral.
Picoways wanted to go for that blue buff invade, but just a little too early there. Bayroneri didn't even get rooted out by Hámmy. It's just the wall body blocking him from that monolith. And it forces out the ultimate from the new wall. The one get out of jail free card that she has, at least for a moment, being able to jump up into the sky.
Migiiiiii again between those towers, J-Mac. My man has made his home in enemy territory.
Yeah, he's going to stay there for as long as he sees necessary, maybe just to try and help catch up as well. Down level 6 to 7.
That's not where the farm
Picoways
is, unfortunately.
No, I mean,
not for him.
If you can spot a minion wave there, cool, but then you're also taking the minion wave away from RelentlessOne, who's falling a little bit behind.
Let me just
not
proxy my
situation.
teammates. Yeah, that is not great. Migiiiiii needs to spend... it's a catch-22. Needs to spend some time farming because he's behind. Also needs to be fighting because he's Ravana, and that's what Ravana does. So I understand the idea, but perhaps need to look a little bit elsewhere as the 1v1 develops in the duo lane.
Never a
Broken,
true 1v1.
though.
Never a true 1v1. Hámmy shows up. Tubahh on the mounted archery, trying to bail out some time. Now Hámmy finds the route after it. It might just be a pick for the support this time. Hámmy dashes up. Needs the walls for the kill. Will find it there. And says, thank you very much, Tubahh, for doing the hard work for me. Another pick for the Kaolin Wardens. And Picoways Might just try and go for another one. Overhead kick already used by Migiiiiii, trying to set up for Nog to get some damage through. Finds some decent poke back. That Bayroneri showing up. Could be 2 versus 2. Sonic Boom charged for a moment by Picoways, but canceled out in favor of the farm.
J-Mag, I want to get an idea of what kind of person you are. If I'm GuyJ right there, my first thing I'm doing is pressing enter, /W, Tubahh, what's up, man? Like, what's going on there? Just breaks that 1v1 trust. As RelentlessOne stuck in the tower. Picoways wasn't actually tanking the tower there, I believe. Had some minions there, but doesn't want to stick around on the off chance that a stun connects from RelentlessOne. Would have likely been enough to turn around that kill. And so, being of higher value at 2-0, the bounty significant for Picoways, decides to completely disengage. I think maybe just throw out the 1, though. Probably would have grabbed that kill.
Potentially so, but maybe not willing to stick around that tower for too long. That stun comes up from RelentlessOne. Could be a quick turnaround to him, but gonna avoid death this time is RelentlessOne. Maybe that tier 1 tower, just the only thing saving his life, is Picoways head first slam straight into it from that Sonic Boom. The Kaolin Wardens have really stepped up their pacing from game 1 here into game number 2. Nearly 2,000 gold up already. 5-1 on the kills. Sure, RelentlessOne is winning in the 1v1 in lane, but everywhere else is really starting to struggle for the Scorpions.
Yeah, don't be fooled by that either. RelentlessOne had just gotten back to lane, whereas Bruno had been hovering there for a little while. So Bruno will get the better end of that 1v1 now that he's been able to reset himself. Has been nursing a slight lead, I believe about a half level up until this point. I trust the Jormungandr to be able to hold his own there. Similarly trust RelentlessOne, though. The Surtr with his semi-global presence is going to be very difficult to shut down now. And he's stacked up a bit of defense, so Picoways likely won't be making that rotation as often as we'd seen up until this point. Picoways, I think, has now hit an inflection point in the game. It's no longer about getting present on map. He's already 2-0, which is more than I would ever ask for my Mercury. It's time to farm up and start getting some of that crit available.
Well, he's working on it. Tier 1 so far. Hidden Dagger, working towards what I can maybe guess could be a Rage. That's typically what we've seen from the Mercuries in these build paths. Get that Rage online second, get those stacks as early as possible to yourself, but we'll have to see how he develops his entire build, because even kind of going back to a small discussion we had, you know, just earlier on, I believe it's in the Picks and Bans, kind of talking about how
yikes,
crit's not quite favored. Well,
see ya.
Bayroneri, there's the downfall of nnog. No real mobility to her. Gets surrounded by too many people. It's an easy pick for the Kaolin Wardens. Now 6 on the board for them. Fighting over onto the right side. Hammy's just buying some time because Bruno's on the way. It's 3 surrounding the Terra, but they just can't do enough damage to her. And now with Nog rotating back in, RelentlessOne may have been the one who steps too far forward. World Serpent to bounce the team around while Nog continues to poke from range on the Tiamat. All of this to bail out Hámmy, who's still alive at the end of the day.
Hammy's still alive. RelentlessOne in the exact same position, though. Tanks up, what, 3 tower shots there? But not enough damage between the 3 members of the Wardens to turn around that kill. So the tanks of both teams, incredibly tanky as of now. We'll start to see that shift up as Picoways has finished up that Rage. So has that crit available. 35%. Wants to stack it up. Make sure he's able to stay involved in these team fights. Actually has pretty decent 1v1 potential into just about everyone on map. I think the only person on the Scorpions that might pose a threat to him would be a combination of GuyJ plus 1 more. Otherwise, the DPS race just going to Picoways every time.
So kind of talking about maybe some of the builds they'll have to shift up. You know, we were talking about crits becoming a little bit worse because Spectral Armor's so good. RelentlessOne's already gone in.
They made it an aura, J-Mac.
They made it an aura.
Crazy.
But maybe the question now is, who on the team for the Scorpions picks up? Is it Relentless because he's already dipped into some physical defense? Going to need Magical. Gold Fury picked up by the Kaolin Wardens. Almost sniped away by GuyJ. So do you have RelentlessOne build this Spectral Armor? One who's going to be diving so far into the front line, or maybe do you have Geno pick this one up since he's going to be sticking by more of the carries?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, right? Geno, if it were to be him, either would have to hyper delay his other auras, hyper delay the rest of his build. But if it were RelentlessOne, I mean, he's just not going to be around his team. Like you said it already. He's going to play hyper aggressive and just be in the back line on his own for the most part by using that ultimate. And that's not even just me talking about like ideal Surtr situations. That's what RelentlessOne's going to do on any pick he's ever piloted, is dive into that back line as a solo agent. I think you'd get more value from Geno.
Picoways is waiting off to the side for a moment to Sonic Boom in. while Nog is just getting knocked around senseless by the Aaru Scorpions. Picoways, though, does find a line, misses with the stun, and his health bar is gone, deleted by Bayroneri and the rest of the squad. The Aaru Scorpions will fight back in, but now it's the Kaolin Wardens showing up because Bruno is teleported over. Migiiiii's got no health left, and it's a kill for the Wardens now into the World Serpent. GYno gonna be zoned out of this one. He's pretty low in HP, can't stick around much longer. RelentlessOne goes to the sky. It's the Soul Landers trying to zone out, but it's the Chaos team. The Kaolin Wardens secure the first beacon. Bruno nearly dead, but not enough damage. Relentless will try and chase him out. Does find him. It's the snipes from GuyJ to put him in the dirt.
Bayroneri barely makes it out alive with GYno. That ultimate from Tubahh. Nearly enough. Speaking of Tubahh, is he on the chopping block? RelentlessOne off the mark with the stun, but connects some damage. Has it left him in no man's land?
Nog goes back in, even despite the low health bar.
What a
Stun
block.
is consumed by Hámmy instead. And so the Tiamat will get to live. GuyJ forced to roll out. And RelentlessOne once again at a sliver of HP, able to heal himself back up and live through the fight.
Picoways round 2 makes his way back into the team fight after falling down off initiation. That exchange, by the way, is what I'd expected to see in the early game between nnog and Mercury. Just drop the stun, eviscerate him, completely remove him from the map. Happens to Picoways there. Bayroneri, even at 1 and 2, still at level 13. Threatening enough. He's able to do about 70% of Picoways' HP bar. Took 2 auto attacks from GuyJ to secure that kill. So, what is Picoways going to do to rectify that? Seems like it's lifesteal. Serrated Edge starting to cook up in that Mercury's inventory. A little bit of lifesteal, some penetration. Could be a massive threat on map. And would also open the door, thanks to crit, to soloing objectives. Maybe just look towards the Pyromancer on your own.
Or just going for fights. 1v1. Migiiiiii doesn't even stand a chance against what Picoways' damage is. But maybe with the help of some teammates, could fight back in. Sonic Boom out by Picoways. But now with Nog showing back up, he was the star in game 1. Might just be a star here in game 2. Second kill for the Tiamat. And now it's RelentlessOne trying to fight into the middle of 3. Does find the stun onto 1. The stun just off the mark this time by Hámmy. RelentlessOne able to snake his way out of the fight. It's 1 kill for the Kaolin Wardens. And unfortunate for the Scorpions, it's onto their jungler.
Tubahh, you've been here before. Stuck into the tower. GuyJ secures the kill and his life, barely. But what's happening on the right-hand side of the map? It's Pyromancer going quickly. The only one in range to defend is Bayroneri, and at half mana, and with Bruno standing between him and the objective. Better believe that's going to the Kaolin Wardens, who keep their gold lead just about where it was previously after all those small skirmishes across the map, been hovering that 4,000 mark for a good long while. Where do you go to tip it further in your favor? You wait a minute. You got a Gold Fury real shortly.
Yeah, that Oni Fury certainly will be the target for the Kaolin Wardens, but the Scorpions recognize it. They've already stepped up into territory. The problem is they're starting to fall behind in some levels between at least their mid 2v2. Jungle and mid for the Scorpions down 2 levels for the Kaolin Wardens. And even with the 2 deaths on Tubahh, he's staying at least relatively close to GuyJ. GuyJ just now tipping over to level 15. And now it's the Scorpions starting up the Fury. Stun on a Picoways. Dharmic Pillar on top. He's got
That's not good.
Literally nowhere to go. I think he accidentally got blocked by Hámmy with his own Monolith. And now it's 1 down for the Kaolin Wardens. Bruno gets into the World Serpent just in time. But look at RelentlessOne. He's going into the backline still to defend the carries and keep them out of the fight. As the World Serpent for Bruno ends out. He just goes back to rejoin the rest of the team. RelentlessOne, you don't have an ultimate. You've already used all your tools. Now he's got to try and find a way out as Nog goes right back in. The Mad Lad finds another kill for himself. Killing spree for the mid. And now it's Migiiiiii who's already used all of his kit. He's got to run out as well as GYno. This might just be a funneling in and maybe a bit of a fumble by the Kaolin Wardens. The Monolith blocks off Migiiiiii, gets an overhead kick just in time, but Tubahh and Bruno chase him down.
Man, look at Nog's HP. He was leaping in aggressively, casting, free casting in the back line, and not a single person takes the time to look at him. Can Nog take out GYno? Silence is there. GuyJ's got the auto attacks, but with no dash, could be another turnaround.
Nog just got to fight in the middle. Pillar says, yeah, this pillar is to keep me in more than anything else. You don't want to step up to the Tiamat. But RelentlessOne teleporting over could be bad for Nog. Silence is there by GYno. Nog still running, gets hit by the stun, but Hámmy is here to try and bail him out. Nog still fighting back as he's retreating. Gets the blast back for himself, and now with Tubahh back into the mix. RelentlessOne might just get turned and burned on. Does have ultimate. If he needs to escape, the knockup is there. He's taking a lot of damage. Hámmy gonna find the root. Ultimate goes through, and RelentlessOne just makes it out.
Man, RelentlessOne is always playing with fire, isn't he? Just hyper-aggressive zoning. I'll stand in all 5 members around the Gold Fury praying with all his might that his team's got the DPS to do the objective. Unfortunately for him, not nearly enough, and so falls down, and it's a surge forward from the Kaolin Wardens. Nnog goes absolutely crazy for 3 entire minutes, zoning 2 on his own, and still somehow, some way makes it out of there alive. 3-0-2 now for the mid laner of the Kaolin Wardens, and stacking up some defense in last slot. Breastplate of Valor means that if it were hard to kill him before, it's a little bit more difficult now. Not only is he tankier, but he'll have those abilities a little bit more often. The Kaolin Wardens extend their lead significantly. Not only is it the Gold Fury, but it's, I mean, what would you call that? 3 fights that go their way too? All of a sudden, the Aaru Scorpions in the exact same position as they were in Game 1. Just scrounging the map, looking for scraps.
And Nnog gonna further push the amount of extra damage he can do with that Tablet of Destiny. He's already 45 stacks on it, if I'm reading that correctly. My eyes aren't great, and GuyJ's health bar isn't either. As Tubahh and Picoways team up, find a 2v1 up against the Ram. BJ is still available, but maybe recognizing that neither would have truly saved out his life. Beacon is up. The Wardens are already on the call. Bruno might be the one on the chopping block for his team, though. 2v1 under the tower, but Bayroneri does find the stun. Next, the call for Relentless to go back in. Malcolm is there. Ultimate for the mid is good, but it's not necessary. RelentlessOne actually sneaks that one away before Bayroneri's ult can even connect. It's Beacon for 1 on the right side.
Yeah, tier 2 tower on the left, though. Tubahh and Picoways able to knock that one down as Nnog just being annoying. I don't think he's really going to go for the kill here, but
so much damage.
His damage is surprising me as well, especially considering the build. That's what Soul Reaver will do. Felt like he just hit that Breastplate of Valor power spike. Welcome to Soul Reaver world. Going to do a whole lot to these tanks with these item proc effects. Man, I am racking my brain, JMac, trying to find a fight back for the Aaru Scorpions. Where do they go? How do you extend this match? And without repeating what I said in Game 1, which is just pray that the game goes another 20 minutes. We might just be there, though. That might just be the current state of affairs, as if it ends the next 10, it's almost guaranteed to be the Kaolin Wardens. So the Aaru Scorpions' entire strategy is don't lose. Extend this match until finally, maybe, a win condition exposes itself.
Hey, congrats to Vortex for winning 10,000 gems. Popping up there.
Shouts.
Remember, every 30 minutes, 10,000 gems to a player. Migiiiii's going to need more than gems. He's going to need teammates and assistants to get out of this one. Picoways nearly finds him over the wall, but Migiiiii walks right back into him. Right into the crit damage of the Mercury. And a 3 versus, I'm sorry, it wasn't 3. It's all 5 of the Kaolin Wardens on the right side. Tier 1 tower goes down. And Relentless won't even make it out. Picoways goes for the ultimate, but he doesn't get enough damage, just tanky enough. RelentlessOne lives. Bayroneri now the one under fire. Hámmy, Picoways, Nnog, all of them there to make sure this new wall falls down. 4 kills for the jungler of the Kaolin Wardens. With everybody on the right side of the map, Fire Giant under the watchful eye of the Wardens.
It might not be pretty, but this is optimal play from GuyJ. Just go ahead, push down a tier 2. Push down a tier.
Tier 1.
Well, he's gonna get the tier.
Nope. Purple buff.
No, he'll go back for the tier.
Shield buff.
All right, it's not optimal play.
Not anymore. Not optimal for RelentlessOne either. Used everything to get out of the last fight, walks back in, and has none of those same tools available to get out of this one. So Kaolin Wardens, they get 3 picks at the end of it all. And a Fire Giant to boot. Kaolin Wardens in 21 minutes have exploded this lead to 10,000 gold in XP.
Man, the Kaolin Wardens, there's something about these lower-seeded teams in this Gauntlet bracket of play, right? They just have something a little extra to prove, and they have done so here. Echoing the performance that we'd seen from Yomi Tanuki just last week. Dominant in the team fight, on top of their objective play, clean invades. They're playing scaling compositions and winning the early game. Like, this is a Kaolin Warden show through and through. Siege a little bit weaker, though, this game, J-Mac. It's not exactly as easy to execute on as their previous composition. You haven't got the same level of poke. Nnog can do it a bit with Primordial Onslaught, but Agni Bomb Stun a bit difficult to beat in situations like that. And so, who else struggles on Siege? It's Picoways. Auto-attack Assassins. in these enclosed tight spaces, disadvantaged tight spaces at that, around Phoenixes or tier 2 towers, tend to struggle to apply their damage. But Hámmy, I think, with the mitigations that he can afford to his allies, thanks to the Earthen Fury, as well as the protections from his Monolith, should help out a bit. That's all assuming, of course, that the Aaru Scorpions group up or aren't picked beforehand. If one member falls down or is poked out, I mean, these Phoenixes will go very fast.
Picoways goes under the tier 2 tower, but still, crit after crit rings right into the skull of RelentlessOne. He's got to go into the sky. Nog is diving the tower by himself and winning. He's got one. Aegis still viewing the damage from Relentless. Beads to get away from the stun after, and still fighting in what's now a 2v2 once his teammate shows up, but instead it's Migiiiiii to turn the tides and get one for the Aaru Scorpions. Picoways ult out, but all the while, it's the dual lane who's taking the Phoenix on the left side. Sure, Picoways goes down. That's a 2-for-2 trade, but that's 2 for 2 plus a Phoenix and maybe an extra. As Tubahh is full HP walking up with Bruno. Migiiiii's stuck between the walls, and a Jormungandr knockup is good, and Tubahh finds the 3rd kill.
Man, Bruno has really impressed me today, JMac. I mean, that play just there, body blocks inside of the stun, waits out the entire duration of the beads, knocks up on perfect timer on the tail end. Positioning was great too. Jormungandr making it look great, or Bruno making Jormungandr look great, I should say. I do have to point out, though, that Nog, in his absolutely wild dive, which he's successful in, knocks down Bayroneri, could have probably received a little bit of help from Picoways.
Just a bit. Maybe
just a bit. Picoways the entire time. The Benny Hill music is going on 5 feet away from him, is just knocking down the tier 2 tower. Maybe if he decides to play with his ally, could have kept him alive there, perhaps between the two of them, enough DPS. They could have persuaded the Aaru Scorpions amicably to leave that situation alone. But instead, it still is a Phoenix on the left-hand side of the map. It still is a massive deficit favoring the Kaolin Wardens. It still is an experience gap across the board, barring GuyJ, the only one of his team to have hit level 20 so far. It still is an itemization differential as well. So you're allowed to make these small mistakes if you're on the Kaolin Wardens. You've played so well up until this point, you afforded that to yourself.
Both RelentlessOne and Migiiiiii actually pick up a spectral armor for their teams. So no matter which end of the fight that one of these two are, going to be providing some of that aura for the anti-crit up against just what Picoways has, the only one. No longer wanting to deal with the nonsense of the Mercury, but I mean, with the extent of a lead that the Kaolin Wardens have at this point, I mean, we're cresting nearly 12,000. Even further than that, I think 13K plus once this tier 2 tower falls down. And a Phoenix for the Kaolin Wardens. They're missing one of their players, Bayroneri, just now joining the fray. It's Picoways who finds RelentlessOne. At least gets the beads away, but in this 2v2, Picoways has got to get out. Will sustain on the camps. But Bayroneri will chop him right down with an ultimate of his own. Now Tubahh in a 2v1. He's got to use the beads and the Aegis, but he gets stunned out. Snipes are good from GuyJ. The turnaround from the Aaru Scorpions, but they still got to deal with Bruno. They still got to deal with Nog, who have been two of the hardest players to deal with in this entire set. RelentlessOne being chased away by the tornado, thrown out by the Tiamat. The Scorpions got there too, but now they've got to get out.
Yeah, the Aaru Scorpions are team global secure there. Bayroneri secures his, GuyJ as well with the Astral Barrage. We'll see if it's enough to get them out. Nog's got a whole lot of damage even for Geno. Shouldn't be sticking around too much longer though. This is a, what, 2v5 at this point? Is he winning that?
He wins under the Phoenix. This guy is a menace.
That's
but now he's got to get out. RelentlessOne is here. Can Bruno get the perfect body blocks and CC to keep him alive? Needs to be able to get away from that stone. RelentlessOne can't close the gap. The knockup's not enough. RelentlessOne to the sky. He sees red. He wants this kill. Can Nog escape, though, is the question. The movement speed's there.
He might win the fight.
Blast back out, but with Migiiiiii joining through, this Tiamat should go down, but Hámmy's now joined the fray. It's not enough defense. 3 versus the 1. Nog finally goes down. Hámmy short to follow after, unless Tubahh can bail him out. Damage is good, and now it's Picoways back from the grave. 1 crit into GuyJ's dome. And he goes down. Bruno able to make it to the World Serpent. How much disruption can he cause in this fight? Picoways critting away while Tubahh still gets the snipes from range. 1 more auto will be good to take down Migiiiiii. 1 stun on the RelentlessOne. 2 more autos onto Migiiiiii. And Bruno just distracting Geno all the while.
I don't even know if Geno's got the damage to secure
It's
this.
one ability.
And it's one ability that he does not have. Silver linings where they lie, J-Mac, and you got to dig deep to find them in a situation like that. Left Phoenix is back up. Base is healthy once more. Titans aren't there either. Couldn't end the game if they tried. So the Kaolin Wardens will go ahead and grab themselves a Fire Giant as they wait out that respawn from Nog. And they'll be 5 strong with the Fire Giant buff. Unenhanced, 27 minutes in. So backdoor protection is still certainly in play. Won't do a whole lot to slow down the Wardens, though. They've essentially got a full HP Titan playing as an unofficial 6-man.
5 versus what will start as just 3, but it's only 5 more seconds till the both of them on the Scorpions have respawned. But Tubahh's already starting the fight with a few autos against Geno. Quarter of his health taken away. And now with everybody back alive on the Scorpions, it will be that 6-man squad of the Wardens, I would say, but Nog has just now returned to the fray. The Chaos Titan has been sent back to base. No more Titans roaming around the map. It's just the players individually. Dharmic Pillars used by Geno to keep the Phoenix alive in mid for the time being. As Picoways actually split himself from the fight, heading over towards left.
Yeah, Geno's ultimate is so important to the base defense here for the Scorpions.
Oh my gosh.
RelentlessOne, so important as well. We'll have to spend the next 10 or so seconds resetting himself as the left side Phoenix barely survives.
One more hit. Picoways could just... honestly, if I'm the Mercury in that case, I ult right into Phoenix. I'd take it down with 2 more punches, but holding on to it for later. RelentlessOne takes out Hámmy. Migiiiiii does do so. The double dunk in, and GuyJ takes out Bruno. He's been so tough to kill on this Jorm. Will be down. Sonic Boom just misses Migiiiiii this time. And Nog, even with all the damage on the Tiamat, it's not enough for a kill just yet. Everyone on the Scorpions alive. The mid Phoenix is the one traded out this time.
Man, Nog is going ballistic today, isn't he? The Agni games, the Tiamat games, all looking good. The damage output just massive as well. Seems like no one's got the answer to him. Fortunately, the Aaru Scorpions have found answers around him, and it's deal with everybody else. Let's get rid of Bruno. Let's make sure Hámmy isn't allowed to tank up these Phoenixes for extended periods of time. Pico, you good? Yeah, he should be all right. Doesn't have ultimate, but Migiiiiii doesn't either. Split up. Yeah, okay. Mercury makes himself scarce. This is the difficulty that the Kaolin Wardens are going to continue to run into, which is that their composition is not exactly the best on Siege. They're really struggling to secure some of these kills. RelentlessOne walking away at 10% twice throughout that exchange. Geno does the exact same thing. If the Wardens could just find that first piece, if it could be a clean pick, if it turns into a 5v4 and the Wardens are the 5, the game is essentially guaranteed from that point, but the safety with which the Aaru Scorpions are playing just makes it so difficult.
Nog is a one-man army on this Tiamat. At this point, he can basically do no wrong.
He's got like little lizard dudes and Titan Minotaurs to help him.
You know, that's fair.
Yeah, he's like a 5-man army.
Until he summons one of them, he's a one-man. Then he just gets a little bit of extra assistance, but just by himself walks up to 3 different members of the Aaru Scorpions. Isn't able to defend the tier 1 tower, but
Pico wouldn't, would he?
Gets an ultimate away from RelentlessOne, nearly takes him out at the same time.
Pico, you don't have to.
Pico might try. Doesn't have the minions, so take him a moment. It will cost him a good bit of his HP bar to stop this, but he does have an elixir.
He's probably just waiting for them to show up on map. Then he's going to ult into Phoenix. He could just walk the old-fashioned way.
I said earlier, I would Sonic Boom right into Phoenix and 1-2 punch, knock out the bird, and back away. It doesn't even need the ult this time. Could use it for escape. Doesn't even take more than 2 shots
and
from the
winning
Phoenix.
The fight.
And then this 4v5, it's all coming up. Kaolin Wardens, Tubahh jumps onto the horse, fires some damage back into Migiiiiii, takes him down, and now it's Nog again versus 3. Nearly takes out Relentless before he can even get to the sky. Relentless, don't go back into this fight. You just lost the first half, and now you're going to lose the second. It's Picoways to take him down. Geno surrounded by 4. Double kill for the jungler. Bayroneri, the only one alive for the Aaru Scorpions. And with 2 Phoenixes down, don't even need the minion wave, but it's on the way anyways. The Kaolin Wardens will take this set 2-0, barring a safety and a defense by Bayroneri, but he's not going to get that. The crits are just too much by Picoways. The damage from Nog is too high, and the Wardens walk away 2-0.
Man, Nog is different. All right, the Tiamat, the mid laner needs to be addressed, okay? It's not a Tiamat thing. It's not an Agni thing. It's a Nog issue now, and someone's going to have to figure out the answer. free farming for the first 15 minutes, he's going to carry the game. I've seen it too many times today, exactly 5 times to be exact. Nog has impressed me nonstop. Bruno's having an absolute tear out of the soul lane. Picoways off to a fast start on scaling assassins, 2 games in a row there. The Wardens got something to prove, and they're proving it quick.
The Wardens don't want to drag these games out to 35, 40 minutes. They want to close them by that point. They're not waiting for that one enhanced fire giant team fight anymore. They're saying, you know what, we might have late game scaling comps. And that'll work when we get to the late game. But they're making this early game look so easy for themselves, especially as you highlight there. Nog in the mid lane. The Agni game 1, fantastic damage output out of him. Game number 2, I said at one point, felt like a one-man army for himself. I think at one point sitting under 30 minutes, over 41,000 damage and still scaling that up as it goes. I mean, he nearly took out RelentlessOne as he was trying to go up into his ultimate.
Yeah, RelentlessOne was not exactly itemized well to deal with Nog, and maybe with VOD review, we'll decide to pick up a little bit more defense for that a bit later on. But for those of you that have been here the entire time, you'll remember it was a fast start. 2 minutes in, essentially a double kill across the map for the Kaolin Wardens. That had set the pace across the board there. Fast play, good objective play, running it down, hyper-aggressive across the map. Migiiiiii, essentially led by the nose around the map, was just trying his best to match presence with Picoways, starts to fall behind naturally from that position. And then what you're seeing here, believe your eyes, Nog is just leaping in aggressively, doing whatever he wants. Felt like in a lot of these team fights around neutral objectives, the only thing that ever hit Nog was nnog. And it's because you can't choose not to hit Nog.
And Nog on the Tiamat all game long, diving in aggressively. I mean, those 2 clips were only 2 of, we'll say, 10 times that Nog was diving in 2v1, 3v1, under Phoenix, under Tower, all game long. Just felt like he was, I'm not going to say entirely unchecked, because yes, he did die. Yes, there were people grouping up, but just felt like there was nothing he could do. 50,000 damage. 20,000 higher than the next closest person in the lobby, nearly. And that was his own teammate, Tubahh, at 31k. This point through, I'm not sure you can even ban this mid laner. He's played 2 really good games of Giannis in the first set, really strong Agni game, now throwing Tiamat into the mix as well. This is a tough mid laner to deal with.
Well, you could. That's 3. There's only 3 picks. Ban all 3.
Okay, okay.
I mean, then you let through like all the really gross meta picks, but you know, you could.
Do you want to is the real question.
No, absolutely not.
Probably not so. So, now for future teams going in against the Kaolin Wardens, it's figuring out how to more so play into these kinds of drafts. So you can ban a few of them away. You can take away some of those ones. We saw the Giannis removed by the Aaru Scorpions this time, but now you got to figure out, okay, if I'm going to play into an Agni, if I'm going to play into a Tiamat, what do we do? How do we draft around that? That's what the remaining teams in this bracket have to start worrying about. As the Kaolin Wardens have now found their 2nd win in this gauntlet. We can take a look at the bracket and see the upcoming potential path for the Kaolin Wardens. A win up against the Storm in 2-1 and now a 2-0 over the Aaru Scorpions leads them to face off against the Valhalla Valkyries for their 3rd and final set today in the 3rd set of the Gauntlet. The winner of this will come back tomorrow, starting again at 11 a.m., and play up against the Tyrian Weavers, and the Athenian Sages await them at the very top end of the bracket for that 1st place spot, in that position to go to the Roll Stars event in just a few weeks' time. The Kaolin Wardens, already with these first 2, is another team you got to look out for this phase.
But it is worth noting in this Gauntlet format that every opponent you meet is more difficult than last. It's bottom seeds meet at the bottom, and then they have to work their way up the seeding each individual time. So the Valhalla Valkyries, your 3rd seed overall in North America, and is one of those teams that was a favorite to qualify into the SPL way back when. This is, of course, Wowie, Gamma, Erupt, Crimson, Sanford Soccer, and Aquarius. And you're probably thinking to yourself, why are they 3rd seed? They've been going for a bit of a eclectic picks. I think we're likely to see some very interesting God selections in this next set, but still a team you need to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, they played a bit lackadaisical, at least in their first phase of play, qualified themselves into another round here to go into the Gauntlet, and now let's see if the Kaolin Wardens can fight up against them. Our 3rd set of the Gauntlet between the Wardens and the Valkyries coming up right after this break.